We're going to take advantage of the minor blues scale's characteristic note, which is the flattened fifth. Now, if you're not sure of the minor blues scale, let's quickly go over it for those that might not know it or might be confused with the pentatonic. We're going to start it at fret number 5, where my first finger is tapping, and I'm going to call out the fret numbers as we play through it. Fret 5, 8, 5, 6, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 8, 5, 8, 5, 8. Now, if we compare that to the pentatonic, you're going to notice two notes are suddenly missing. And those two notes are going to be the red notes that are in step 2. And the reason why I'm starting with step 2 is because I first want to get the scale going before I backtrack onto the chords and put the scale into the chord structure. So here's the pentatonic, 5, 8, 5, skipping the red note there onto the 7. One more time. Keep going, 5, 7, 5, 7, skipping the red note at 8, 5, 8, 5, 8. So one more time through the minor blues scale. And the pentatonic. And you got your two scales. Now, the flattened fifth note, being the red note, you can hear after playing that scale sounds sort of quite weird. It's got unusual sort of tonality. One more time. You can hear it's got an unusual sound to it. That's the flattened fifth sound, and we call it flattened fifth because this note, with respect to the first note at fret 5, is a flattened fifth. So there's a normal power chord. We call a fifth. You take the fifth, which is being tapped over there by the ring finger, we flatten it. In other words, you do this, and you get a flattened fifth. Now that note by itself normally sounds pretty crappy. It's not really everyone's favorite note. But if you put it as a passing chord, it sounds pretty cool. And if you use it in a blues sort of context, more mild overdrive, sounds quite sweet as well. And clear sound. But it's not a very good stopping note. If I go, it feels like it needs to go somewhere. Now it's happier. You can feel it doesn't want to stop there. It needs to resolve. Now, we're going to capitalize on this flattened fifth, and we're going to add it to a chord. Now, before we go to the chord, we're going to quickly revise over a basic blues structure. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you through the basic sort of blues in A, which I'm sure you're familiar with. It's basically 4 bars of A. And if you want to learn that riff just quickly, it's starting with finger 1 flat across strings 4, 3, and 2 in the second fret. Should sound like that. For the second part, and all I'm doing there, I'm going to zoom a bit closer into the chord so you can see it better, is I'm going from here, strings 4, 3, 2 in the second fret, bringing the middle finger to the second string on the third fret, and the ring finger onto the fourth fret of the fourth string. This sounds quite cool, especially with a little bit of picking to that. And then comes the stretch, which is 5, 2, 5 being the fret numbers, and the fingers are going to be ring finger, fret 5, string 4, the first finger still at fret 2, and the pinky, fret 5, string 2. Very nice tense blues chord, very, very cool. If you put it together, slow motion, and back. So the third time, fourth time, and then D7. Now I'm sure you know the D7 chord, and we're going to take it as far as that, because now we want to start playing with that flattened fifth we spoke about. Okay, So PDF's in front of you, you've printed it out. We're going to work through with experimenting with the minor blues scale. Okay, so your goal is to take the scale and take that flattened fifth note and add it to a chord and see what happens. Now, how does this sound to you? D7. Sounds quite sweet, eh? One more time. And that chord shape has derived itself, or it's come from the D7, which normally looks like this. See it nice and clear there. We've swapped from fingers 1, 2, and 3 from the D7 to fingers 2, 3, and 4. And this diagram is on your PDF in the top right hand corner where it says D7. And I'm going to take my first finger, which is waving at you now, and place it on string 4, fret 1. That is E flat. And I've changed D7 into a new chord. There's D7. And now gives a nice leading sound to it there. Sort of wants to go somewhere. And that chord, if you go to step number 3, it says there, and I'm reading from the page, adding the flattened fifth E flat to the chord D7 is going to give us new chords. Okay, we're going to put it into the 6th bar, and this new chord that I'm pointing at here is E flat full diminished 7. Quite a big word. Okay, now you get a full diminished and a half diminished. The half diminished is also known as a minor 7 flat 5. I'm not going to go into that for this study. This study is about a full diminished 7, which has got the E flat with a little circle 7 as on your PDF. Now what's interesting about this, if you look at the notes are E flat, A, C, G flat. And if you look at the bottom under step 3, it's got 3 chord diagrams. You're going to have your E flat diminished 7, G flat diminished 7, which is the same chord. Or is it? Let's have a look quickly. Look at the notes listed underneath. G flat diminished 7 has the notes G flat, C, E flat and A. There you go. G flat, C, E flat and A. And that's the same notes we found here. So this is an inversion of each other. These two chords are simply inversions of each other, which means that they contain the same notes but in a different sequence. Now let's go to the next one, which is going to be A diminished 7 by fret number 7. Again, the same 4 notes. So what's interesting here is every time you go up a minor third, now minor third is a fancy word for 3 frets. So if I go up 3 frets, starting there, 1, 2, 3, I've gone up a minor third. From here, 1, 2, 3, minor third. If I took it further, which I'm not going to do, that's your homework if you read carefully on the page, you're going to find that the chord keeps repeating itself. Now, what's interesting about this chord is that all the intervals, in other words, the distance from example E flat to A, E flat to, in sequence, E flat to G flat, E flat to G flat, to A, to C, all contain minor thirds. So all the intervals between each note in sequence are the same. And that gives us the full diminished 7. They're all brought from minor third intervals. And that takes us to step 4, which is a cool exercise built entirely from the minor third intervals. And it's going to sound slow motion like this. And I'm happy not to fluff it. I'm going to take it through slow first. I'm going to sit and zoom out so you can see a bit better of the guitar neck. And using fingers 1 and pinky to start. Maybe a hammer on. It's quite a nice sound to it, eh? It's all minor thirds. Now, how to use it's sort of quite tricky because you have to make sure that your stopping note or your target note has to be part of the chord. But before we get there, let's have one look on how we can use this cool chord inside the blues progression. We're going to zoom out a bit there. And we're going to play through a typical 12-bar blues. And the 6th bar is going to replace D7 with E flat diminished 7. Check this out. Here's A, first bar. Second bar. Third bar. are D7, and it worked quite nicely. It gives quite a nice leading edge because the chord is calling to be resolved. And you can hear how nicely it comes back to the A7 at the end of it. One more time, so you can hear it. I want you to listen to the sound. D7, E flat diminished 7, hold it up, and E2, A7, and you can hear how nicely it resolves when you get to that chord. So you can do it lots of ways. You can do normal D7. You can start a bit earlier. And it sounds quite cool if you then go into like a little blues lick afterwards, depending on how you want to phrase it. But the purpose over here, first of all, is to teach us the full diminished chord. You want to know they're all inversions of each other because they're built from minor third intervals. You can hear it. And that's actually quite a nice scale. I didn't put it on the page, but let me just show you quickly. It goes up from fret 5 to fret 8, next string, 6 to 9, next string, 7 to 10, next string. Got that going. End up on 11, 14, and you finish it on number 17 at the top, back on A. What sounds quite cool, if you put a little bit of distortion to that, you want to get a bit of a sort of a metal overtone, you can run backwards as well, something like this. Okay, fluffed it last time a little bit there, try it again. And it gives quite a nice sound. Nice little sound to it. So you can use it for rock, you can use it for metal, but the purpose of this study is to use the chords for the blues and to learn a very cool phrase which I'd like you to learn. And you can take it a bit higher if I had more frets. Obviously the Les Paul cuts it at 22. So if you go to 24 fret, not a hassle. Hope you enjoy the study. It's meant to train your ear, give you alternative options. It's meant to encourage you thinking about how to expand your chords. For example, like a 7th to a full diminished. Work up the neck. It's part of your goals. It's to teach you about inversions. In other words, inversions are the same chord, but the notes are not in the same sequence. And to learn some cool pinky abuse, which is quite cool. You'll notice the pinky was working quite hard there. Any questions, drop me a WhatsApp. Otherwise, have an awesome week, and I hope you enjoyed it. A rather outside look. I did take the minor blues and turn it into a different type of phrasing as well. Remember to keep the finger notation working nice and smooth. Have an awesome week. Take care.